Cheat Code Support Strategist by myheadinthecoudsnotcomingdown. Read by Rat Overlord. Chapter 27, Vital Weapons. Summary: the final preparations for the sports festival. Izuku glared at the calendar like it had personally offended him. It wasn't really fair, since the calendar obviously didn't decide that time should keep marching forward, but the fact was that the sports festival was in only 3 days, and Izuku had been too busy helping Shinso and analyzing the first years to plan what he was going to do. He glanced out the window of his workroom and watched Mei, who appeared to be in her own little world, putting the final touches on Shinso's support item, while her own were teetering in a steadily growing pile on the floor beside her. It seemed like everyone else had a goal for the festival. Katsuki wanted to prove that he was the best, Mei wanted to impress the investors, and Shinso wanted to get into the hero course. Heck, even his classmates were looking forward to showing off their inventions in the first round. So where did that leave Izuku? He found his perfect place in the support course, so he didn't really want to transfer like Shinso did. He didn't actually build support items, so he didn't have anything to show off like Mei and his classmates did. He was just little old quirkless him, just like he'd always been, like he'd always be. Despite the fact that he'd technically been staring out the window and should have seen her coming, Izuku still jumped a foot in the air when Mei slammed the door open and strode in, trying to wipe the soot off her nose, but only successfully smearing it all over her face instead. "It's ready!" she announced proudly. "Where's Extra Credit-kun?" "Probably in class," Izuku sighed, turning back to his current analysis. "Like he always is at this time." There was a beat of silence, and Izuku finally turned to see Mei looking at him suspiciously. "Okay, what's got you so down?" Nothing," Izuku stuttered. The crosshairs in Mei's eyes narrowed slightly. "Not buying it, Izuku! You're normally, super excited, so..." Izuku shrugged and forced a smile onto his face. "It's nothing. You and Shinso are going to do great at the sports festival." Mei sighed. "Oh, so that's what's wrong." She forcefully spun his chair around, sat there face to face, and leaned down so that Izuku had to lean back to avoid being nose to nose with her. "You realize you're going to do great in the sports festival too, right?" "I don't need to," Izuku protested. "Not like you and Shinso do." "But you want to," Mei countered. Izuku stopped. "What?" "You want to do well," Mei said like it was obvious. "You want to prove that you can do it. You want to show all these stupid bullies that your notebooks weren't just some waste of time." "I guess it would piss Katsuki off if I were to make it past the first round," Izuku chuckled. "And the farther I get, the more I can help you and Shinso." "Exactly!" Mei punched him playfully in his arm. "So don't let me catch you saying that you don't need to do your best because you don't need the publicity or whatever. Right, Cheat Code?" Izuku scowled. "I still can't believe that you made me make a logo. I'm not even popular." "Not now you're not," Mei grinned. "But after UA, when you're not some helpless student anymore, your brand's going to be the biggest in the entire hero analysis industry." "It's not like it's a very huge industry to begin with, Mei," Izuku muttered. "So, was there any reason you came in here besides to apparently scream some sense into me?" Mei's face lit up. "Oh yeah! Extra Credit-kun's weapon is done! I just need him to do the final test and make sure that everything fits so that he can use it before the sports festival. Can you go get him, please?" "Okay." Izuku looked back at the video that he was supposed to be analyzing. If he wanted to keep up with Shinso and Mei in this festival without a quirk or fancy support items, he would need to memorize the weaknesses of every single hero student and come up with ways to counter each of their quirks. In 3 days. Fun. Maybe he could make Mei wait until after school, but then Shinso wouldn't have as much time to get used to his new equipment. If only she could go get him herself, but then she'd probably make a scene and embarrass Shinso, which would be a brilliant payback for ganging up on him with Mei about the logo and for taking those pictures that Izuku still had to steal back after the USJ. Izuku smiled slowly. "Mei, I'm kind of busy right now, but I can give you a map to his classroom." Hitoshi was bored. Or maybe he wasn't bored. Maybe he was just using his boredom to mask his nervousness. What if his training hadn't been enough? What if Midori's strategies for hiding his quirk activation requirements weren't actually enough and everyone could counter him perfectly after the first round? What if... The entire class flinched as the door to the classroom hit the wall with a loud bang, and May strode in. Grease and soot smeared across her face as she gave her best mad scientist grin. Oh, who was he kidding? That was her default expression. They made eye contact across the room, and May's grin got even wider as she made a beeline towards him. "Hi, Mike-sensei! I'm stealing Shinso-kun for an hour!" May announced loudly. "I need to make his babies!" Mike choked on his own breath, and Hitoshi turned a brighter shade of red than he ever thought possible without some sort of quirk involved. Before either of them could get any other reaction, May had grabbed Hitoshi's hand and yanked him to his feet, started pulling him towards the door like an overexcited puppy. The class's exclamations were still audible even after the door slammed closed behind them. Izuku tried to hold in his laughter as May physically dragged a cherry-red Shinso into the lab, but he wasn't doing a very good job if the glare that Shinso sent him was any indication. "I hate you," Shinso said seriously. "I don't know what you're talking about." Izuku tried to sound innocent, but the stubborn smile on his face kind of ruined the effect. Shinso glared even harder, as if staring at him hard enough would activate his quirk. "You sicked May on me." Izuku shrugged. "You deserved it." Now that we're done embarrassing Extra Credit Kun, can I show him the baby I made? May interrupted. Shinso and Izuku both looked at her in shock. "You did that on purpose?" Shinso exclaimed. Izuku doubled over in laughter as May huffed. "Like Izuku really didn't have the time to go get you himself? He hacked the USJ! He could have easily hacked the announcement system if he wanted to instead of sending me." Izuku laughed even harder. "I think I see why President Mike calls us Power Lotus gremlins now." "I hate both of you," Shinso deadpanned. "First you kidnapped me, and now this? Why did I even agree to this?" "Because of this!" May grinned and dumped a large length of metal ribbon onto the table. "Meet Hatsume Industries Baby 367, Amplifying Apprehension Armor!" Shinso eyed the ribbon suspiciously. "Oh, what does it do?" May's eyes glinted with excitement. "Pick it up and find out!" Shinso scoffed. "No thanks. I still haven't forgiven you for those taser marbles that you handed me last week." "Oh, you're no fun!" May pouted. "Fine! This baby has 3 functions. I can add more later, but this is what I could pull together while still giving you time to practice before the sports festival. The ribbons reflect sound so that you can configure them to amplify your voice without having to transmit it and even change the way that it sounds. So it can be used as a voice modulator, but it's still going to need some fine-tuning. For now, it can get close though, but it still sounds pretty tinny, and it's obvious that it's an imitation if the listener is actually paying any attention." "All right," Shinso said slowly and hesitantly picked up the pile, almost throwing it as it apparently had been far lighter than he had been expecting. "So it amplifies and modifies my voice. What about the other functions?" "It almost looks like Eraserhead's capture weapon," Izuku pointed out. "Good work, Izuku! I knew there was a reason I kept you around." May grinned. "Hearing you two geek about him made me curious, so I looked him up, and his scarf baby is so cool. It doesn't seem very high-tech at first, but there's so much hidden in it, and—" "May!" Shinso interrupted her before she could start rambling. "I know what Eraserhead's scarf does. So, can I use this to grab opponents and stuff?" May huffed. "Well, yeah, but Eraserhead's scarf takes a lot of practice and control, and practice takes time that you don't have, and we can't make it out of the fabric since it has to reflect sound, so this version isn't going to have the same flow as his. Think of these slap bracelets they used to have back in elementary school. If you slap the ribbon hard enough against something, it'll wrap around it automatically. We'll probably fine-tune it later, but this will be good enough for now." Shinso nodded slowly. "Okay. That makes sense-ish." "That accounts for the amplification and the apprehension," Izuku said, running his hands over one of the ribbons. "What about the armor?" May's eyes lit up with excitement, and Shinso's darkened with fear in response as she grabbed the ribbon and slammed it against his arm. "May, wait!" Shinso tried to protest, but before the words could even get out of his mouth, the ribbon had wrapped itself entirely down his arm, encasing it almost completely. He stared at it in amazement. You can use the apprehension function on yourself to make armor, May cackled. Isn't it so amazing, extra credit kid? Wow, Izuku breathed. You really outdone yourself, Mei-chan. Shinso took a deep breath and carefully reverted back to his default bored expression. It's okay, I guess. I'll take it, Mei shrugged. Now, we've got a lot of work to do, so let's see how you handle that baby.